Hey guys, James with the Equestrian Magic Gaming. I am your host. Give you a little background on myself. We're going to do a compliment to the book review that I just did earlier about the Dishonored books and kind of bring you up and clear things up for the matter. Now, I've been gaming since most of you were born, probably, since Atari first came out with its little. But anyway, we're going to talk about these books and the three games. Well, five games actually. Uh, one of my one of the people who commented on the video that I shot about the books and so forth. That they just started playing the games and it's easy to get confused about the books because first thing that pops in somebody's mind are, oh well, the books, they tell you about the video game you just played, but that's not necessarily true. There are a lot of games out there that had books to go with them or complement them, but they had nothing to do with the story that you just played on the game, and the game certainly does not follow the books. That's just the way the developers do things. Uh, so what we have here, I guess you could say, is failure to communicate. So let's communicate with you, and let me give just a rough push through on this. Hopefully that will clear up what's going on. There are a lot of you out there I know that don't read novels, but there's some out there say the books are no good, the books are this, the books are that. And all I can say to that is that's your opinion and you're entitled to it. But that's just the way it goes sometimes. Let's start with Dishonored, the definitive collection or edition, which is very good. Now this edition not only has the first game, but it also has the two DLCs, Knife of Dunwall and Brigmore Witches. Uh, of course, in the main story, Jessamine's killed, and Corvo is accused of her death, and he goes running through, escapes with the aid of friends, escapes, or so-called friends, escapes the prison and runs through the city looking for the assassin, Dowd. Finally catches him, and it's up to you to decide whether you want to kill him or not. Now, before the actual story of Dishonored are the two DLCs, The Knife of Dunwall being the first game, and then followed closely by the Brigmore Witches. These take place as Corvo is escaping from Coleridge, like the books are kissing the video games. And of course, what happens is your choice. You either kill Dowd or you let him live. Okay, and now we get into, well, what happened to Dowd after Corvo him tangled. If you decide to let him live, this is what happened to Dowd. The return of Dowd. This is what happens to Dowd after the first game. In that perspective, Dowd is up in Tibia, and he discovers the two-bladed knife. Now he's going to be chasing that throughout this book. He's going to be chasing that throughout this book, and of course we both know where it ends in the death of the outsider. What happens is he winds up in Dunwall, back in Dunwall, where he witnesses Emily's flight as Delilah's coup takes over Dunwall, and Emily flees to Megan's ship, and we have Dishonored 2. But Dowd is debating then because he sees her do this. He's across the bay looking through his binoculars or spyglass, what do you want to call it. He sees her, escaping, and he's drawn to her because of the way she's going from building to building. It looks like one of his people, but he discovers that it is Emily, and he sees her actually get on the boat, but he doesn't know the boat is owned by his old lieutenant Billy Lurk. And he debates whether or not he wants to help her to escape, but he doubts that she would accept his help due to the fact that he's the one that killed her mother. And then we move on with Dow to different parts. He's chasing this knife, and he's having to do combat here, there, and everywhere, as Dow does. And finally, he winds up in Karnaka, where he's captured by Jeanette Lee, the one who owns the Barker Bath, and that's how he got into that predicament. Now we're going to see a different side to Billy Lurk towards the end of this book. And I ain't going to give it away. I'll let you read it for yourself. I don't want to tell you the whole story. I mean, what's good at telling you the whole book, and then you won't enjoy reading it. So if you were going to play game book, whatever, it would look something like this. It would be the game, the book. It would be another book, The Corroded Man, which we're going to get into right now. Now, Dishonored, The Corroded Man. As you can see, I got a card in here. I'm about halfway through the book. But I've read enough so I can give you a little background on it. I ain't going to spoil it for you because I don't want to spoil it for myself. But anyway, we are all familiar with Dishonored 2. Emily and the Coup and Delilah and the Duke of Seconis and so forth like that. But before that even happened, the Corroded Man happened. This guy shows up and connects with Dow's all allies, the Whalers. And they're plotting to do something which I will not tell you what they're plotting to do. But Emily, under training of Corvo, is out and she happens to see some of these people grave robbing. They're stealing corpses from the ground under one of the command of one of the Whalers. And of course Corvo follows her, and when Emily decides not to attack and returns to the tower, Corvo hangs out and actually gets involved in a little tussle, and one of the Whalers recognizes his powers and stuff. But this is happening just after Emily's 25th birthday and before Delilah's coup. So that's because some of the guys who commented on YouTube that the books make no sense. They make perfect sense. You just got to understand where they lie at. So Emily gets popped back to Dishonored 2, and that's where that happens. So again, if you're in the books, Dishonored 2, this is what you're looking at. Just like that. This is how they're falling. And then of course the Veiled Threat falls in behind that. Well, not really. I mean, Dishonored, the Death of the Outsider comes in after this, followed by the Veiled Threat. Now you know how they lie and why they lie that way. It's not that they're trying to confuse you or anything. Well, I'm sure you've read Star Wars books, if you're a reader like I am. I'm sure there's many of you out there who have probably never picked up a novel in your life. Gamers, I'm respecting you too. There's a lot of you who do read. But pocket novels like for Star Wars or Star Trek or your favorite movie or whatever, then you understand what I'm talking about. Okay, let me give you a little background on this book. The Veiled Terror takes place 1 year after the death of the Outsider. The Outsider's gone, Dow's dead, blah, 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 blah. We wind up in Dunwall. Now, something's amiss, and Billy Lurk is having nightmares. Her eye is hurting, her arm. She's chewing some type of herb, like a morphine type herb, to kind of ease the pain. But she also knows now that something's happened, and she figures that the world is coming to an end. What she thinks is that's what's happening, because the void is closing in on the planet, because the outsider is gone. That's all I'm going to tell you about it, because I don't want to spoil a good read. If any of you, are really into good read, then that's a good book to read. All three of them are. Gives you a different perspective and kind of opens up to what's really going on in Dishonored. All three of these books would make a great DLC or a regular playthrough. I'm hoping the developers are considering the same thing that I'm saying here. Like I said before, I just want to give you an inside look on what's going on as far as Dishonored, on these books in perspective to the games. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. If you want to know where to get these books, you can get them on Amazon, or you can get them probably at your favorite booksellers like Barnes and Nobles or someplace like that. But if you're definitely into Dishonored, then you definitely want to read these books. I'm sure they're out on audiobook too, for those of you who are visually impaired or so forth like that, that you would enjoy them. Again, I'm James with Equestrian Magic Gaming. It has been a pleasure come to talk to you today. Thank you for your time, and like I say, check these books out because they're really cool. Later. And have a blessed day, a Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year.